Hi everyone, welcome back to Reading with Leon. Leon's looking at the Pooh book because it was a lot of fun. But we're going to read The Wake Up Man. The story is by Thomas Rain Crow and the illustrations are by Marilyn King Dawson. This looks like an interesting book. Let's see. Once upon a time, deep in the mountains, there lived twin brothers, Mance and Melvin, who were the sons of Mother Earth and Father Sky. The same Mother Earth and Father Sky who took care of the heavens and the earth. The two brothers had grown up in the wild woods with the animals and plants, all sharing a good life. That sounds good. I'd love to live in nature. Need some coffee. Now Melvin, who was only older than his twin brother by 2 minutes, began to work and do things on his own. Sometimes his parents sent him off to stay with his Uncle Zeke, who was a magician and worked the magic of sleep and dreams. Whenever Melvin stayed with him, Uncle Zeke taught him everything there was to know about the magic of sleeping and dreaming. For you see, Melvin's old Uncle Zeke was known to everyone else who lived outside of the mountains, not as Uncle Zeke, but as the Sandman. This is interesting so far, yeah. Yeah, you looking at that one? We're going to read that one next. Every day about dusk and after eating a big dinner, Uncle Zeke would tie a big bag of sand to his belt and walk out the door of his cabin at the edge of the woods to the nearest town. In the little bag that he had tied to his belt was the sand that he used to drop into the eyes of everyone who had gotten tired and had gone to bed. It was the sand that really put you to sleep. He never told anyone except Melvin the secret of the magic sand. The secret of the magic sand was this. It was not really sand at all. It was dust. Dust that had fallen from the goddess to the ground as she combed her golden hair. This dust from the goddess's hair had been given to Uncle Zeke by his grandfather, as it had been given to him by his grandfather, and his grandfather before that, and his before that, for as long as there had been people on earth. And so Melvin went to stay with his Uncle Zeke more and more often to learn of these things, so someday he could become a great magician too. Then one day, Uncle Zeke died, and when he did, Melvin left his family and went to live in Uncle Zeke's cabin near the edge of the great forest. Now it was Melvin's turn to become the Sandman, and so he did. Oh, we don't eat butt paste. We don't eat butt paste. Here's the picture of Melvin and Uncle Zeke and the goddess combing her hair. I hope that doesn't mean that that's dandruff, because that'd be bad. Melvin was now the Sandman. He was always away from home putting little boys and girls to sleep. Because he was always gone, his brother Mance began to get very lonely. Mance was used to being with his twin brother almost all the time, and it had been this way for many, many years. But now his brother Melvin was gone, and Mance had no one to play with or to talk to. And even though he was friends with many of the animals in the forest where he lived, he missed his brother, and sometimes he cried. I miss my brother too. My brother passed away a few years ago. Sometimes I cry. It's okay to cry. One day, after many months had gone by, Mance was feeling so lonely he went looking for his mother and father. He found them by a little spring where the family had fetched their water for as long as anyone could remember. Father Sky was picking up sticks and leaves around the spring, and Mother Earth was planting wildflowers all around the place where water came out of the earth. Mance saw them and ran up to where they were working. "Mother, Father," he cried, "I need you to help me. Since Melvin had gone to live in Uncle Zeke's cabin and has become the Sandman, I have nothing to do all day. I get lonely and sad. I want to be like my brother and have something to do." Father Sky and Mother Earth listened to Mance, who was now no longer a little boy, but was beginning to grow up, and they heard the sadness in his voice. Father Sky sat down on a big rock beside the spring and thought for a minute or two. Then he asked, Mance, my son, if you could do anything you wanted to in life, what is it you would like to do? Young Mance didn't even take time to think before he answered, I don't know, Father. I don't know what it is I want to do. Excuse me. We don't mess with those. We don't mess with those. Please stop. Please stop. Thank you. Father Sky sat silent for a minute or two before looking up at Mother Earth, who was standing by his side. Then he asked her, well, what do you think our son Mance should do with his life? Mother Earth thought for a minute or two and then named many things Mance might do with his life, some direction or meaning. But with each suggestion, Mance shook his head and said no. He didn't like the sound of any of his mother's ideas. After Mother Earth had run out of ideas, Father Sky made several suggestions to his son. He suggested Mance could become a preacher, or a farmer, or a cobbler, a fireman, an animal doctor, a milkman, a painter, a teacher, or even a poet. But with each suggestion his father gave him, Mance just sat there and shook his head. There was nothing his parents had named that Mance wanted to do. Please stop. Please stop. Thank you. Now Mance was even sadder, and he stood up and went home. Poor Mance. Poor Mance. Days, weeks, and months, and a whole year went by. Hold on one second. No, come over here.
Hop, hop, hop.
Hop, hop. Yeah?
Hop, hop, hop.
During this time, Mance had found nothing he wanted to do. All day long, Mance would sit out in the yard of the little house in the woods and would whittle on soft poplar sticks with his knife. Leon, please sit down. Thank you. Excuse me. Finally, one day, when Mance was sitting in the front yard and whittling his 10,000th stick, he had an idea. Mance jumped up from the great pile of shavings from the 10,000 sticks he had carved up into slivers and ran into the house. He picked up his coat and a piece of his mother's bread that was still warm on the stove. Yum, warm bread. Bread had been baked just that day. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Yum, 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 yum.
Yum. Yum.
With a big chunk of bread in his coat pocket and the rest stuffed in his mouth, Mance ran from his house into the deep woods. He ran to the little rock house of the wise old Cherokee woman everyone called Old Ivy. Mance had heard people in the village say Old Ivy could bring down rain from a clear sky and make warts disappear from hands and feet. Once Mance got to Old Ivy's stone house in the woods, he knocked hard on the heavy oak door and called out, Old Ivy, open up the door. It's Mance, the son of Mother Earth and Father Sky. My brother is Melvin, the Sandman, and I have come to talk to you. After Mance had almost broken his hand from banging on the heavy wooden door, Old Ivy opened the door. She had an angry look on her face. She could see the sadness in the young boy's eyes and hear it in his voice. And so, being the wise woman that she was, she invited him into her house. Old Ivy sat Mance down in a chair at the kitchen table and waited for him to calm down. Once Mance had relaxed a bit, Old Ivy looked at him and asked, Well, young man, what is it you want from me? Immediately and without hesitation, Mance blurted out, I want to be the wake-up man. My Uncle Zeke taught my brother Melvin to become the Sandman, and I want you to teach me how to become the wake-up man. Old Ivy listened carefully to what Mance had to say and then stood up from the kitchen table and paced around the little room for a while before she went and sat back down. She didn't say anything for a very long time. She looked up between the fingers on her hands that were hiding her face and said, "I have something here that may be of help to you, and I'll give it to you with my blessings, provided you promise to use this gift only in a good way." Then old Ivy stood up again and went to another room of the little stone house. She was gone for what seemed like to Mance a very long time, before she came out of the room in the back of the house and into the kitchen, very gently, carrying a small vial. I wonder what's in the vial. Sorry, I wanted to finish my coffee before it got too cold. This is something very special I have had for many, many years. I have been saving it for just the right time and the right person, she said as she held up the vial nearer to the light. "This is magic water from the medicine lake," she said in utmost reverence. "The old woman who gave it to me was much wiser and older than I. She told me it had come from a secret lake where people go to bathe and to be healed if they are sick. This water has other magical properties too, and I think it will work for you and your idea of the wake-up man." Seems like this might be an Indian legend or something. Let me see real quick. I don't know. It might be. As she said this, old Ivy handed the vial of liquid to Mance. Mance took the glass vial of the medicine lake water from old Ivy's fingers, being very careful not to drop it on the hard stone floor. Excuse me. In the bright light of the kitchen lamp, the vial of water in Mance's hands sparkled with all the colors of the rainbow. As he stared at it, he thought to himself, "With this magic, I can become the wake-up man." Mance wrapped up the glass vial of magic water in a handkerchief he always carried in his back pocket when he got up from the table, thanking old Ivy for her gift and for her help, and opened the door to leave. "Don't forget the conditions of this gift and our bargain," old Ivy said, making sure he heard her before he closed the door behind him. "You may only use the contents of the vial for the purpose you have told me, and you must use it always in a good way." Mance nodded his head and said yes, as he closed the heavy oak door of the little rock house and headed quickly but carefully for home at the other end of the woods. I'm excited to see what Mance does and if it makes him happy. By this time it was late. It was dark outside and with almost no moon, and only the brightest stars were shining in the night sky. There was no light coming from the windows of the little house in the woods, and so he knew Father Sky and Mother Earth had already gone to bed and were fast asleep. His twin brother Melvin had already been there and sprinkled their tired eyes with magic dust. Seeing this as the perfect opportunity to try out the powers of the liquid in the magic vial old Ivy had given him, Mance took off his boots and quietly opened the door to his parents' little wooden house and stepped softly inside. It was so dark he walked through the small living room and kitchen like a blind man, moving around the rooms from only the memory of where he thought the chairs and tables had been. At the doorway to the room where his parents were sleeping, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out the little glass bottle, unwrapping the handkerchief from around it. And in the darkness of the bedroom doorway, the vial of magic water shone brightly as the brightest candle, throwing off rays of colored light that lit up the room. So bright was the colored light that Mance was frightened and almost dropped the glass vial. "I hope all this light doesn't wake them up," he thought to himself as he stepped from the doorway into the room where his parents lay fast asleep. But I thought if he wanted to be the wake-up man, he'd have to wake them up. Mance leaned over the little bed with the glass vial in his hand and carefully opened it, letting a few drops of water from the magic lake fall on his father's eyelids. When he bent over a little further and sprinkled some of the magic water from the vial into his mother's closed eyes, washing the Sandman's sand away. When he was done, he walked quickly from the room. The bright color sparkled from the glass vial, lighting his way. From the living room, he could hear his parents moving around in bed, making sounds and groans, like grown-ups make when they begin to wake up. Suddenly, a light went on in the bedroom, and Mance knew his parents were awake. The vial of magic medicine water had worked, and from now on, Mance was going to be the wake-up man. Oop. Yes. Here we go.
I see.
The next morning, Mance's parents are still tired from being awakened in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep. Mance told them about the vial of water from Medicine Lake that he used to wake them up and about his wish to become the wake-up man. Happy, their younger son, had finally found something to do with his life besides whittling sticks. Mother Earth and Father Sky gave him their blessing. As the sun went down that afternoon, Mance's mother and father gave him a loaf of his favorite sweetbread and sent him on his way. Knowing the way his brother Melvin went at night, Mance headed off into the forest along a path that was a shortcut to the nearest town. From town to town, from village to village, from farm to farm, Mance the wake-up man sprinkled his magic water on the eyelids of everyone, young and old alike. But since he didn't know when people had gone to sleep, he woke some up too soon, who became wide awakes, and he woke up others too late, who became sleepyheads and slugabeds. Guess he's gonna have to work harder, huh? For a while, people were grumpy and even angry at the wake-up man, but soon Mance learned how to time his visits so everyone got just the right amount of sleep. So Mance and Melvin followed each other around to all the places and people in the world each night and each day. One with the sand of sleep and the other with the water of waking. And this is the story we tell at night to little boys and girls when they go to bed. This was a long, long time ago, but still today, the Sandman travels around the world from house to house at night. We know the Sandman has come when we yawn, just before our eyes close and we fall asleep. And when we wake up in the morning with sleep all sticky and stuck to our eyes, we know the wake-up man has been there too. Yeah? And that is the end. That is a great book. I've never read that book before. I hope you guys all enjoyed it as much as I did. And Leon and I both wish you to have a good day. Can you say bye-bye?
Bye.